Okay, we are
Hi,
live. It
Sonia.
works. Great. Hi, Jennifer. Good to see you.
You too.
Great.
All
Okay,
right.
so today we're going to talk about inner children connection and art. And I'm here
Mhm.
with Jennifer Lawrence from the Mindfulness Art Therapy. Um, yeah, I'm Sonia, um, the host of this account, Art of Reconnecting, and I'm an art therapist, same as Jennifer. And so today we will dive in a little bit into the topic. And yeah, I hand over to you, Jennifer.
Yeah. And Sonia, do you want to say where you are?
Oh yeah, sure,
Yes.
sure. I'm based in Hamburg, Germany, and yeah, I work from here, but I also give online classes, online sessions, and workshops all around connecting and building nourishing relationships with yourself, others, and nature with the methods from expressive art therapy, ecotherapy, and integrative somatic trauma therapy in a guidance based approach. Yes,
Fantastic. It's so cool that we could do this work online also, so
it
that we can
is,
just
isn't
connect with
it?
everybody all around the world. I just love it.
Yes.
So, like you said, so yeah, I'm Jennifer. I'm in New Jersey, and I also have an online program. I work with people, and my goal is to help kids and their grown-ups connect joyfully and compassionately and mindfully. And we use art and movement to do all of those kinds of things. So I do groups, in person, individuals, and online.
Great. So the
Yeah,
whole spectrum.
yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Okay. So, yes, let's dive in, I would
All
say.
right.
And also, we are open to taking questions along our chat.
Mhm,
So, if anyone feels compelled to ask something, yeah, feel free
mhm.
to drop it in the comments. Or I think there's even like
For
a
sure.
question section where you can
Oh,
also put
yes, there is. Yeah.
questions. Yeah. Okay. So where do we want to start? um, you work with children, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
especially, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe you want to share a little bit about this
Mhm.
work, like what you notice in the work with children, and how art can
Yeah.
be beneficial, especially for children.
Right. And I know we're thinking about this idea of the inner child too. So I was
Yes.
thinking about that. When I work with kids, who I'm really working with are their parents. And
Mm,
that inner child is so alive when I'm doing this parent work. And it's really the parent's own connection to their inner child that helps them then be present with their child and with what their child.
yeah.
So parents come to me because they're struggling in some way. They
Mhm,
can have some
mhm,
behaviors that feel really uncomfortable or dysregulating. And until the parent kind of gets in touch with their own experience of what it was like to be dysregulated as a kid and how they were
yeah.
supported, they really have a hard time. They kind of see it as the kid's problem that needs to be fixed. I say I'm not a fixer, I'm a helper. So we're
Yeah.
going to dive in a lot around like your own experience of being a child. And
Oh, okay.
when I allow that to happen, it's like, or when parents are open to that kind of work, there's
Mhm,
just this softening that happens and this
mhm,
kind of acknowledgement that we're all human beings in this on a
mhm,
journey, and they can start to
mhm,
see their kids journey as their own human being journey, and then they can start to
mhm.
support the behaviors from a place um, that's
Yeah.
just much more compassionate, and then they have
Yeah.
compassion for
That.
themselves.
Mhm. Mhm. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you approach this? You also use methods like with
Hmm.
from art therapy, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
um would you explore that together with the parents in
Hmm.
like an art therapy session, like during
Yeah.
like painting something, or how do you do that? Like can
Hmm.
you give some examples?
So yeah, yeah. The kids are all they're most of the time we'll get into the art. The grown-ups, they're not always a fan of the art, but that's okay. What I also do is when I can do groups with, this is where I found parents are more willing to participate in the art making, is when I do groups with grown-ups and the kids, parents and the kids. And I make an invitation that we can all make
Yeah.
open-ended art. And I give the parents
Ah,
permission that their kid, we're not working on a project. We're just basically, I just put out a buffet of different materials. It's like my favorite thing in the world. I put out a whole bunch of different things that have different textures, and I might make an invitation. Like the last one I did, we did self-portraits. So I gave them some opportunities to connect on a physical level with their kids. So they were tracing their head and shoulders. But then after
mm,
that, it was kind of like open-ended. And I really like let the parents, sometimes I even have to have parents be on the opposite side of the table from the kids. Like I like
mm,
opposite corners because like uh they need to let their kid have their own experience and not worry
yeah.
about if their kid's doing it. And I tell parents like it's okay, they don't have to do anything. This is their own piece. They get to decide how they do it. It can turn into whatever they want. And
Mm,
how about you make some art over here and see what happens for
mm,
you and just being
mhm,
together. And like the parent,
mhm.
like the light bulbs just go off and they're like, I didn't know I could be with my kid this way. Like it's
Aw,
just, it's so lovely to see
yeah.
that kind of like that there's that longing to be with your child in that way and that
Mm,
open space of connection and playfulness. But it's really hard to access. And the art just like neutralizes that. It just gives this
yeah.
playground for us.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, this is lovely explained. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, my work is focused more on adults, like with art of
Uh-huh.
reconnecting, but I also work besides being an expressive art therapist and ecotherapist, I also work as an art teacher,
Uh-huh.
and it is like I influence the my art classes also knowledge from expressive art therapy. And
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes also do like children and parent classes, and
Mm-hmm.
I can relate a little bit about like yeah what you said with the part of like the parents kind of need this space first to be
Mm-hmm.
kind of oh yeah this is a group and more like this is like for I do this for my child or like with my child, but then once
Right.
they get into it and into the
Yeah.
creative process,
Yeah.
it's like they just like they love it, and I think like
Yep.
everyone like or like almost everyone I'm sure is like craving for this expression for yeah this
Yeah.
just this authentic expression this playfulness and
Mm-hmm.
all this is just yeah in the expressive arts process so much
Yeah.
yeah.
Sonja, do you
Mm.
find that that people have barriers to starting art because they feel like it has to
Yes.
look a certain way or something? And what are some of your tricks
Yes.
for inviting people in? How do you kind of like,
That,
to
that's
work
a
your
good
magic?
question. That's a very good question. Yes, definitely. Like so much. I mean, children are usually a lot more open to that and think so much
Mm-hmm.
about like it being criticized, like it being judged, and
Mm-hmm.
like for adults, it's a lot harder to break free from this like mental chatter. Like I feel like
Mm-hmm.
this is this constant mental chatter that it needs to
Mm-hmm.
be a certain way, or that they are not good enough, or
Mm-hmm.
either that is mm, either that is boring. Although I always feel that it's like a protection mechanism of not being good enough. Like underneath, I
Mm-hmm.
think it's
Yeah.
all underneath is always like the being not good enough, or like being
Yeah.
afraid of like showing something, or like showing really
Mm-hmm.
like some authentic parts of yourself. And I mean, it's different and like the different kind of work that I do. So with the workshops that are with methods from expressive art therapy that are for adults, I also do like yeah workshop classes, group workshops always
Mm-hmm.
that are over a certain period, like over like 5 weeks or
Yeah.
something. And in the beginning, like of course they're tend to be a little bit more shy, you know, or like even when it's just like a one-time
Mm-hmm.
workshop, that it's like in the first hour, like everybody's just a little bit shy and just needs to, yeah, get started. And then once they get more and more into the process of like just exploring, then they loosen up a little bit more and they can show a little bit more of themselves. And like some ways how I facilitate that, or how I also learn to do it from the methods from expressive art therapy, is to kind of create a frame around it, like more like making more narrow choices, because sometimes that helps even. Like, so when you just say,
Yep.
pick one color, just like pick one color, that's the whole job right now for you. Just pick one color and then go ahead from there. Like, okay, and choose a shape for that. Like, what feels right for you right now? And really more tapping into the intuitive part, just more for like, okay, just see what feels right for you. It doesn't need to look a certain way, just like what is fun for you to explore. What do you feel drawn to? And then we go from there. But it's always a lot of, I mean, it depends. Like, some people are maybe more also trained in that or more open, and for some the barriers are a lot stronger. So for the ones where the barriers are a lot stronger, I feel it just loosens up over, like, when they feel safe and in the group or with me, like, or both. I mean, both is important. And to then always train this, always just, okay, intuitively, like, what is right for you? Like, always just like, okay, just don't think, like, what do you feel drawn to? There's no right or wrong. It's just like, what do you feel drawn to?
Right.
So yeah, and once, like, training to tap into the side, and then it loosens up a little bit more.
I love what you say about, like, limiting choices, because first of all, that requires like a lot of slowing down, because once you're with just one, if you're just with one color, like, you're really with that. And if you can have grown-ups experience that over time, they can translate that to how they interact with kids, and they start to get what it feels like to not be in emergency all the time, but like to have a little bit discomfort of, like, I'm not sure what to. This is what's so fabulous about art, is that there's open space. You don't know what to do. I've got this blue crayon. What am I going to do? And you have a little bit of that nervous system activation, but then you start to move in it, and you don't know where you're going, but you just let the space be what it is. And that's what we're doing when adults are interacting with kids, is you can support your kid, especially when they're dysregulated, when you can do the same thing, when you could just be with the blue crayon, you know. That's why I love art so much for this work.
That's well put. That's a great, like, way, like, to build a bridge towards the art and also the nervous system, right? It's so I also feel it's one of the best ways, either done like intentionally, like with expressive therapy, or when you just like do art by yourself, even it can be so regulating. And I mean, of course, also all the art, not just like classical art, or like painting, or like doing a painting, but also with movement, with like sound, with like writing, with the dropping into the moment and into the, I'm okay with, I don't know what is the next step, right? Art helps us to train this. Like, I don't know what is the next step, but it's okay. I will figure it out, and I might have fun figuring out, like, along the way. I might be playful with that.
Yes, it makes me think about, like, with this idea of our inner child, when we get quiet and we slow down, but then our inner child comes up and is maybe a little bit dysregulated or noisy or upset. Like, how do you help people with that process of kind of taking that journey with their inner child? Because I know this is your specialty.
Like the inner child, I mean, like, just like parts work in general, right? I feel it can be so powerful, like, to connect to different parts of you, and like especially to your inner child part is such an important one, like so essential, kind of. And I mean, almost like we all in our society have, like, to certain degrees, a form of like a splitting from our like childlike parts. It's just like how our society is constructed and how we were brought up. So I always feel like there's part of like re-owning that, like reconnecting to these parts. So yeah, I feel which is like it's just happening along the way. Like
Hmm.
you connect more to your inner child when you connect more towards your playful side, like
Uh-huh.
towards your yeah, and this is just happening through through the arts
Yeah.
by themselves, always just like and tapping in also with these vulnerable parts that want to be
Hmm.
protected, right? You're usually very young, and so then this is where these protective parts, these voices come in with like, oh no, I'm not good enough, like it's doing art, or like, oh no,
Hmm.
this painting doesn't look good enough, like I, this is
Hmm.
I this is I feel, yeah, like these other protective parts that are built around these, like usually younger parts of us, like childlike parts
Hmm.
that just want to express and like wanting to be seen, and like they get
Hmm.
visible during the expressive arts process. We literally like bring them even onto paper, kind of, right?
Yeah,
They are able to express themselves, and so
for
then you
sure.
will become a witness in a way to these parts, and also connect to these
Mm.
parts as you tap into this side yourself.
Yeah. Oh, I love that idea of witnessing. That just gives me like goosebumps, you know, like I just think
Yeah.
of like the kindness that you're showing yourself when you allow yourself to see these parts and witness them. It's like so, what a gift that you can give yourself.
Yes,
Yeah.
and also that way being witnessed by others, right? Also in a more
Mhm.
non-threatening way. It's not, you are not, I mean, you are putting yourself out there, and at the same time you are a little bit in a safe space, because you just show your
Mhm.
artwork, you just show like this piece of you,
Mhm.
so you can look at this this piece and what this part of you has expressed and what you have expressed, and
Mhm.
other people like in the group, or like the art therapist facilitator, will also look at it and witness it. And I also feel that is so powerful. And like especially like doing groups, I love to do like a small
Mhm.
exercise where we where they would show like the artwork at the end of the
Mhm.
session, or like sometimes during, and then we would like write down on pieces of paper, turned upside down so that you just can see it when
Mhm.
you flip it over at the end. We'd write down like a word that comes to mind, but more like
Uh-huh.
a describing word. So an adjective,
Yeah.
like just so something like it's um, it's powerful, or it's spacey, or it's strong, or so something like
Mhm.
that. And in this way, the other people are also tapping more into non-judgmental way of
Mhm.
thinking, because you're not saying
Yeah.
like this usually, okay, oh, this artwork looks good, or like this looks bad, but it's more
Well, while you're back.
thrown out of
Oh,
its
there you
square.
are. There you are. Yeah, you're here. You're here.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, okay,
Yes.
sorry about that.
Yes.
Okay,
That's okay.
okay, great.
Yeah. Well, what you were saying about
So
this
where were
witness,
we?
your process in the group about them sharing and the adjectives describing and
Yeah,
that kind of non-judgmental witnessing.
yeah. So that way you tap more into this, non-judgmental
Hmm.
witnessing side,
Right.
and
Yeah.
train this, like also with
Yeah.
yourself. And um, it was always such a magical moment, like when they would flip over all those little pieces that they got
Hmm.
from the others of the group,
Yeah.
and it just opened up a whole different space. Like there's always
Yeah.
like this moment, like, oh wow, yeah, right. Oh, this is in that. Oh, this is
Hmm.
it. So it's um, it's just a different, just it opens up so much more in that way, and
Right.
you start
Yeah.
to see also this your artwork and in this way yourself and your inner parts in a different way,
For
because
sure.
like, oh yeah, right, that is kind of
Yeah.
strong, or like, oh yeah, right, that is kind
Hmm.
of, I don't know, like wild, or
No.
whatever, or calm, and you can connect in a
Right.
different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like what you're speaking to. It's such the benefit. It's speaks so much to the benefit of doing this work with a facilitator. It's great to do it on your own, but there's something that happens when you come into an intentional space with someone who knows how to move you through a process and knows how to make the invitations that maybe feel too hard for you to make for yourself. And so when you're in a group, being able to be seen by people, and again, then we're all human beings, and even showing people your inner parts that you keep hidden or that you're like maybe a little bit unsure of how that, or you've been trying to like push aside, and you let that be
Yeah.
seen. It's so amazing. And I definitely see this with kids. It's like the favorite part of any group I do is when they get to show their work. And I have
Oh,
routines
yeah.
around that. So again, so it's non-judgmental and safe. But man, if I forget it, like they will like let me know because they love to be seen. Like you just see it, and it just, like you said, it just shifts the whole energy, and it brings such a nice kind of completion point of like, I'm here, and this is me, and this is this moment in time, and
Yeah.
it was amazing,
Oh,
you know. And it's like I love it. It's like it makes me want to do it all the time, do as many groups as
oh,
possible, you know.
oh, that's so
Yeah,
lovely.
yeah,
So cool.
yeah.
So you will then this is group workshops that you facilitate with the children and the
Uh-huh,
parents, or
uh-huh,
like with
uh-huh.
just
Yeah,
with both of them.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah. When I get to do that, it's just amazing. So, um,
mm.
yeah.
I can imagine. Yeah, I also feel this is such an important part. Like it just
Mhm,
needs to be there. It's always like
mhm.
the
Right,
also kind of an honoring of like your process and your artwork
right,
and yourself, right? And the
for
others.
sure.
It's just
Yeah,
mhm.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
How does this show? I'm curious because you do ecotherapy too. How does this all show up in ecotherapy?
Um, what exactly do you mean? Like the
Well,
with
just
the inner parts, or like child
yeah, just
kind of
yeah,
thing?
or even just how
Mhm,
you use
mhm,
ecotherapy, like as part of the
mhm,
invitation you make to people.
mhm. Yeah. So in different ways. Like of course, like when I do one-on-one work, I would just see what is kind of needed
Hmm.
from the other person, like
Hmm.
what is needed in the moment. And when I facilitate groups or like group workshops,
Hmm.
I do a fusion of them.
Hmm.
So in the past, I have done a little bit more of expressive arts based workshops. And right now, I'm planning on bringing more like methods
Mm.
from ecotherapy, but I have combined it a little bit. Like,
Hmm.
so for example, um, I don't know, maybe I should. So, ecotherapy, I don't know for the ones
Yep.
who don't know that because this is such a fancy word. I also
Yeah.
didn't knew it like, I just learned it, I think, like 2.5 years ago or something. So,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
uh, right before I started learning it. So, mm, it is about, working with nature and in nature, but it doesn't need to be in nature. It could also be in a room. It can also be even online. And it's about connecting to nature and also to your nature with that, and understanding of eco psychology, which is the worldview that we are, of course, not only connected like to ourselves and to others, but to the bigger environment. So everything that's going around will affect us, and the other way around. So when we feel connected to the environment, to nature, we feel
Hmm.
more connected to ourselves, and the other way around, and we can strengthen this relationship during an ecotherapy session, or like with
Hmm.
methods from ecotherapy. And since I am so much into parts work and the concept
Hmm.
of inner parts and so on, I
Hmm.
usually also mix this kind of
Hmm.
in there as well. And let me think of an example. Like I love to work with like particular, call them like nature allies.
Uh-huh.
So when you have a certain um, a problem currently, then you could tap into a nature ally that comes up to you. So something that would be similar to, okay, pick a color that resonates with you. So what kind of, let's say, like tree currently resonates with you? And how would this tree look like? And you could do it in imagination, or it could be really in the outside world, which is super powerful as well. Like I experience it myself, like on the experiencing side, but also in the offering side. So when you have like a real, you have a really like a like another being kind of who is with you in that process of like connecting or tapping into yourself, into other parts. And you can then, for example, explore this with methods from expressive art therapy. So let's say you felt connected to an oak tree, or like to this particular oak tree, and then we would dive in further and see, okay, why? Like, how is this particular tree? Like, what kind of what is special about this tree? And you could explore this in, or through like movement, or like making an art piece. So what kind of movement would this tree express if it would be like a line on a piece of paper? And so we would also drop out of our like mental, rational kind of parts of the brain, and we would tap more into the feeling parts.
Yeah.
And as you know as well, right? This is where the change happens. So we need to be connected like to our feeling parts, and we need to feel all those uncomfortable feelings, but also all those great feelings, to be able to facilitate change. This is why we get stuck otherwise, because we can mentally kind of understand it, but we are not connected like on an emotional level, on the feeling level.
That's
and
right,
so if we also just like tapping into this intuitive part, into this feeling way of relating. It teaches us like relating in a way with feelings. And I think this is a little, or this can definitely be more strengthened in our society.
Yeah. What you're saying is making me think about how, I don't know if it's the same in Germany, but I know in the US, we have this idea of self-reliance. And I think what comes with that is this kind of shutting off of connection. And I see our role a lot of the times is just really guiding people to feel safe with connecting to themselves, connecting to others, connecting to their environment. So what do you see when because it sounds like, you just have like a lovely process for helping people find that safety and connection. What do you see are some of the benefits that happen when people start to make those connections?
It's I don't know, it's connected with everything. I mean, it's like, what is it not? It's just so essential. I mean, it's so of course, when you are more connected with yourself, and when you know more about what is going on, you will have better, or be able to have better relationships with all the people around you. Because of course, that way you can express what you want, what you need, but you also need to be rooted in your body to be really able to connect with another. May that be your child, or your partner, or your friends, or your co-workers. Like, you need to have this connection. And the same way also, of course, when you're connected to nature, so to the broader environment, we will feel more safe when we feel connected. When we don't have this connection and we feel disconnected, then our nervous system perceives more threat, and we would have a different kind of relating in this way.
For sure.
So we would be more like, the nervous system would just be more agitated, and so with other way around, we like our stress levels would lower. We would have less anxiety, and like depression rates would go down, and all this like health benefits of like I mean, so much, like, and it's just so essential
Yeah,
in
exactly.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes me think of, nervous system tone, or that vagal tone
Mhm.
of, just really having that resilience where you can move you have that flexibility and ability to kind of move in between states as needed, becoming
Yes.
alert, calm, grounded. All of those things are like more easily accessible the more you practice feeling connected safely with whatever it
Mhm.
is that, is your entry point for that. So that when your kid is, come back to the work that I do, when your kid is dysregulated, it doesn't feel like an emergency to your nervous system. It feels like something that you can handle. And honestly, most of the time, most of the things that parents bring to me are not emergency situations. Sure, there's times when something is an emergency that needs like a really activated response. But for the most part, a kid being mad is not an emergency. It's just their human experience, an expression of an emotion. And the more that I mean, I'm a parent also, the more I can learn to kind of work with my own feelings of safety and connection, the more I can support and be witness to my own kids' experience. And I can teach parents how to do that also. So that then we're talking
Mm.
about how to read something it's not a behavior that has to be fixed. It's it's actually an experience that we're having in this moment, and how do we want to
Mhm.
experience it together. And as the grown up, how do I embrace my role
Yes.
as I'm with working with somebody who doesn't have as much skill, who doesn't have as much life
Mhm.
experience. So how
Mhm.
do I embrace that? And it's really cool. And when parents get it, they're like, they just feel so much joy. They really do. I mean, I've had people say to me like, there's like a light in my family again.
Oh,
It's like, that
oh, that's lovely.
you can feel the space just opens up so much. So um
Mhm.
it's really, really cool. So I know we're at about a half hour. Do you want to say how people can
Okay, that's
connect
good.
with you, or is there anything that you want to talk about before we finish up? Or
Um, oh, wait.
oh, did you freeze again? There you are.
Um, yeah, I'm back. I'm back. I don't know. Let me just go through the notes quickly. Like, did we had like something
Yeah.
that
Okay.
we kind of missed? But I think we had a lot, right? I mean maybe we can talk about like what is our own experiences like tapping into childlike parts of us, like with or through the arts.
Yeah, definitely. Well, lately I've had a really angry 7-year-old who's been really making her voice heard. And it's been such
Oh,
an interesting process to like hold that space for myself as I like have that kind of loosening up of feelings around that. And then also, how do I set boundaries? Because 7-year-olds need boundaries.
mm,
They don't get to be in charge. And so so I'm practicing that. So I have to keep asking myself, is this my 7-year-old, or is this grown-up Jennifer who's making these choices?
oh,
And
wow,
so
yeah.
it's been really, really powerful and I have a coach that I work with who's supporting me in all of that, because I don't even know how I could do all that on my own. But it's been just a really provocative experience, I have to say. Yes, it hasn't shown up.
Amazing.
I haven't done much art around it yet, but I have some. I've made little small kind of almost like talismans to help anchor me,
Mhm.
to be like, okay, this is an
Ooh,
adult experience. And they're just very tiny things to remind my 7-year-old it's okay to like let the adult hold this experience. You don't get to be in charge of it. So, and I'm a fan of that, like, because I don't have a lot of time to make a lot of different art things, and so like little tiny things that I can do, like small, and that I can visuals that I can put around to remind myself of what
yeah.
my intentions are for my life experience. That's I find those useful art pieces right now.
Mhm.
How about you?
Oh, that's a great idea with like the talisman and with like the
Yeah,
anger talisman. I think
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
try that. You need to
yeah.
tell me more about how you do that. That's very
Well,
cool.
the one I made recently was just, I had those little scratch off cards. They were like almost business card size. And I just scratched off a little heart. It had this like lovely
Oh,
gold underneath it. So made this like gold heart, and that was it. Just
uh-huh.
spent some time scratching it off.
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can be that easy, right?
Yeah.
I feel so
Yeah.
too.
It
Like I
really
have,
is.
yeah. I mean, right now, like it always fluctuates with me.
Mhm.
So I sometimes I have like a regular practice where like I do something like every day, and then I have like phases like where I don't do anything like for a couple of weeks. And then, so it always
Yep.
changes. But yeah, I try to incorporate that definitely more. I mean, I learned so much during my expressive art therapy studies.
Uh-huh.
This was a time in my life where yeah, definitely was like very intensely like working on this kind of stuff and also connecting with my childlike parts with a more like playful side. I just felt this
Hmm.
like coming up very naturally so that I wasn't like going for, oh, I want to connect like with these like childlike parts, but it would just start to happen more because I
Yeah.
was connecting more to in a more playful. And so yeah, this was a super great experience for me. I was like suddenly this whole world would like open
Hmm.
up where I would have like this different approach of just like wanting, yeah, to like have fun and like explore like with
Wow.
all these different art media. And I was like, I mean,
Hmm.
I always like did a little bit also like music, and I like to write as well, but
Uh-huh.
not like with this intensity kind of. And also
Yeah.
it just like everything came back like I just wanted to be creative
Yeah.
in all the ways. And
That's amazing.
so that was, yeah, that was a big
Yeah.
like change for me, I would say. Like just
Uh-huh.
this like having fun while exploring. um I mean, it sounds like that I didn't have that before at all. Of course I had it, and also like I studied
Hmm.
design before that and worked as a photographer, what I still do from time to time. And of course I loved being creative there as well, and I could express that in a way. But
Hmm.
this, like with expressive arts, it was just in a different way. It was really more connected about just like, okay, I will just see whatever comes up. And it can be something that is difficult, but it could also just be something that's joyful and just like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, playing around like with something. May that be like music, or even like, um, I mean, you can create music with like
Yep.
everything, like just like taking a glass bottle and like some
Hmm.
rice or whatever. So
Yeah.
I love this. Like it was like reconnecting like to like really young parts, but they are
Yeah.
very very playful. So just with this, also with this like joyful and light side of like my inner
Yep.
child part. Because before I also did a lot of like inner child work and like parts
Uh-huh.
work, like on my own, but also with a therapist. And which was a little bit hard, so or difficult sometimes, or like has some sort of
Yeah.
uh yeah, it was sometimes heavy. And so this was, I
Hmm.
mean, it could be heavy, but it could also be so just so
I love
light
it.
and
Yep.
so joyful. And
Yep.
yeah, that was also quite cool because when we connect to these inner childlike parts, it not only connects us like to the bad stuff that might have
Uh-huh.
happened,
Uh-huh.
but also like to all the good stuff, like to this,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yep.
just energetic
Yep.
self.
Yeah.
And
Well,
yeah.
we definitely can connect to those places where we maybe overfunction or we act from a
Mm,
place of woundedness, but also that place that's curious, that's without filters
mhm,
that being a grown up
mhm,
sometimes brings. So I think it's all there, and
yeah.
it's like so lovely when you can kind of be with, fluid with all of those pieces
Mhm.
and parts. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I love what you said before, like with the asking yourself, do I connect right now from, is this like my 7-year-old Jennifer talking, or like my adult self,
Yeah.
right? And I feel so powerful when we can Also ask our like inner childlike parts for sometimes for their wisdom. I mean, for
Oh,
their
yes.
for their playfulness and everything, right? But that being connected with our like adult selves,
Yeah.
and yeah, to then guide our childlike parts and protect them, but from a like a nurturing
Yeah.
point of view, and not from a I like
Yeah.
these parts because I don't want to get hurt kind of way, right? So it's much
For
more
sure.
also it's much more also this relationship that yeah, parents I think always want with their children, but sometimes then their own parts come in their way and so on. Yeah. I read or I heard a book which is called like I think it's even the book you wish your parents had read.
Oh, no, I
I
haven't
don't
heard
know
of this.
do you know that?
Yeah,
It's a very good friend of mine, was telling me about the book, and I started like digging into it, and I just love it. It's so great. It also uses talks a little bit about parts work, and also about the nervous system, and it's explained in such an amazing way. Yeah, I think
I'm
you
going
will
to
love
check
it
this
too.
out. Yes.
Yeah, and she's talking about that. Usually like when we are triggered like by our children or by other children, but this example it was of course like your own children, then you can always like check back and see how was it for you the experience at the exact same age, so that the trauma that you experience at the same age will show up and mirror in the outer world, or can mirror in the outer world. So, and of course, when you are not connected to your like 3-year-old self, and you or you needed to reject this part because it had some painful experiences and you couldn't deal with it at that time, then you will also reject like things that are similar to this experience from your 3-year-old child, or from other adults maybe that have similar problems with like their inner 3-year-old or something.
When your inner children are talking to each other and they're not being nice.
Yes,
for
definitely,
sure.
right?
Well, that's 100%. That's like exactly what happens when parents come to see me, is that almost always the conversation comes around to how they experience being a child, and kind of that struggle between knowing they don't want they don't want their child to have that same experience of being a child, but they also don't know what else to do. There's the gap that I can support them with, is how to kind of, bridge that gap into like what else is an option in a way that you can, parent in a way that's different than how you experience being a kid. But it does require you bringing in your own awareness of what it felt like to be a kid, your own unique, because that part is the part that gets triggered when your kid is, shouting at you or whatever. Your kid part is triggered because you weren't allowed to do that when you were a kid. So then you get into your like reaction back to them, or helplessness, or whatever. So yeah, it's all just so alive. All of that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna check that book out. That sounds
yes. It's very, very helpful. So it's really well written. I mean it's just everything, like the connection, like the connection part plays in so much, right? And it kind of, when you said, obviously like connection is needed like for relationships, but I think once you become aware of it, like really like how essential it is, and like what it all means to be connected, because I think like in our society we can just so easily say, of course I'm connected like to my family, like, or to my friends, but or to myself, right? How can I not be? But so are you really? I mean, because when it's so easily to go unnoticed that we are like dissociated to some level, like to parts of ourselves, and to then like kind of notice it in the outer world through this challenges showing up in our relationships. And this is usually just a sign of like, okay, what is showing out there, or what is kind of triggering me, like in in the other person, like what kind of parts am I repressing in myself, or am I not connected to right now?
Right.
And yeah, and I mean, with like in the broader picture, I also feel it's at the root cause of so many problems, also on a bigger scale, right? On a society level, and like what is going on with like social injustice and so on now, or with like our approach to like the climate crisis, right? I know, like for example, Gabo Mate. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It, yeah, like I really love his how he approaches that. He also talks a lot about the disconnection, especially also from some people in power, like who aren't connected to their children, and then it comes out in a very destructive way, which hurts, of course, a lot. Yeah, a lot of other people.
Sure.
But this is the grand scale, right? And we have it also like on a smaller scale. We have it too. So I feel it's so essential, like these being connected to yourself, to your childlike parts, especially because this is the ones that have usually experienced some trauma that want to be nurtured, and when they feel safe, then your outer world is safe, okay, and you know how to deal with it, and you don't need to respond from like a fight response or so.
Yeah. And all this is really big stuff. And what I find is that the work is really about very small, tiny practices done throughout the day. And I think sometimes people are reluctant to take it all on because they think this is going to be too hard. But we're really talking about just teeny, teeny, tiny steps that you can practice that start to move things, start to create that connection, start to invite that safety in. And I mean, one of my favorite ones is just hand on heart and deep breath. And I love the all of the research about savoring and how, that's like you want to do that for 20 seconds to anchor in that positive feeling. So, can you give yourself the gift of 20 seconds?
That's
5 times
really,
a day.
Yeah, that's well put. Really lovely practice. Yeah. I like that. I will try to do that for a while. That's a very good idea. And it's so easy. It's like 20 seconds.
Yeah. Well, every time you wash your hands, you finish up with 20 seconds of a heart hold, and and really kind of anchor into your heart and a warm feeling that you have. And that's all it takes. It'll sustain you for a lot longer than you think it will.
That's true. Yeah. It always feels like we need to do so much, right? Because we are trained to do that. It's always like doing in our society, and so it's just like the being part, like the being with yourself, and like just be there, be present, and yes. And I also feel sometimes it's when you want to tap into this like more playful parts, it's like it can also be easy. Like for example, like do a small exercise like during the day, like check in on what kind of movement do you want to do right now? Just like a tiny movement. And I feel that is also so powerful because you tap into your intuitive side, and also you express it, and you're in more like this flowy and feeling side. And or like what I also love to do is like just a check-in, like what kind of color would show up if you kind of could pick a color right now, or if you what color would your feelings be or something, and just tap into that, and just imagining it, or just very very seemingly small gestures like can make so much difference.
For sure.
Great. So do you want to share what you currently offer, maybe?
Oh,
Or
yeah, for sure. Well, for families in New Jersey, I definitely have a counseling practice and they can come and check in with me. But I'm really excited about the online program that I have. It's called Break Free from Power Struggles. And so it's an art-based 12-week art-based online coaching program, it's a mouthful, to help parents kind of ditch that perfect parent fantasy and really kind of understand their kids' behavior from a whole new perspective. That's really about like learning how to take care of themselves first. So it's really the people that have engaged so far with it. It's just such a powerful process, and it's really amazing. So right now, it's only being offered to the people who are on my email list. I'm going to have a secret sale next week. So it's like half off right now for people who are on my email list. So I encourage people to sign up for that. And there's a link in my bio for that. And when you sign up for the email list, you get a workbook that I created that I'm finding to be a really powerful tool. And it's kind of like the 3 steps that I tell parents to start with when they contact me because their kid is having problems. And so, but it's so disorienting when your kid is having problems to kind of know where to start. And so it's like the first 3 things that you need to do. And really 2 of them are about your own experience. But it's kind of just like it creates an action plan of like how to get the ball rolling so that you can get your kid the support that they need while also getting yourself the support that you need. And that's free. And if people don't want to sign up for my email list, I will send it to them because I think it's valuable just to get into people's hands. So that link is in my bio also.
great.
Yeah. How about you?
Great.
What are you working on right now?
Right now, so I'm working on a program that I will offer this fall, probably I'm not sure yet if it will probably the end of next month, but probably more like starting in November. And it will be a program about a couple of weeks, 5 or 6 weeks. So I'm still figuring out the details. And it will be about, this work, like building nourishing relationships with yourself, others, and nature. And we will go through all the different layers, connecting to your inner parts, connecting to your animal body, what this means, and with like learning to work with the nervous system. And then we will widen that and like learning to tap into building nourishing relationships with others, human and non-human beings. And then we will include it with like the relationship that we have with nature, and in that way come back and that we have with our nature. And yes, it will have methods from expressive art therapy and ecotherapy and integrative somatic trauma therapy. And I look very much forward to it. So right now it's not officially online yet, but who is interested can always just write me like on my Instagram and let me know that they're interested in that. And I still, of course, offer one-on-one sessions online and also in person in Hamburg in Germany. So if you're interested in that, you can also reach me over via Instagram or via my website or email, and you will find all the details in my on my Instagram account in the bio as well. Yes.
You're doing such amazing work, Sonja. I can't wait to see how your program comes out. This is so exciting.
Right at you. It's so cool. I would also love to take to sneak in and see how you work with like the children and the parents, because it just sounds so lovely how you do that, and so important work. I feel this is definitely like one of the root things to do, right? Like to have like a different relationship with children, with like the next generation, and so that they have a different relationship with themselves and with others. That way, I feel this is like really like the one of the central aspects that we need for like change on a bigger scale. Like, and it can be very, very small, and then the bigger change will follow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And on that note, we're saving the world, right?
Definitely.
One blue crayon at a time.
Oh yeah, I love that metaphor as well. Great. Okay,
All
Jennifer, that
right.
was such a lovely talk.
Yes. You
Um,
too.
yes, I wish you a lovely day. Still
Yeah.
daytime
Yes.
over at
And
your
this,
place, right?
yep. Yep. Yes. And hope your
Great.
evening winds down nicely too. And
Thank
maybe we'll
you.
plan another chat. This was really fun.
Yes, yes,
All right.
likewise.
All
See you
right.
soon in the future. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.